Have you ever wondered why true spiritual knowledge always seems to be just out of reach? Why, in a world full of information, real wisdom remains shrouded in mystery? Perhaps what you know as reality is nothing more than an illusion, a superficial layer hiding the essence of existence. The deepest truths of the universe are not reserved solely for mystics or sages, but are ancient secrets kept from us, ordinary mortals. And why is this knowledge kept hidden? What would you discover if you had access to these secrets? Prepare yourself for a journey where we will uncover mysteries that can completely transform your perception of the world. As we explore these questions, you will be invited to transcend everyday illusions, discover the true nature of reality, and access the spiritual wisdom that has been hidden for centuries. Since time immemorial, various spiritual traditions have warned us of the possibility that the reality we perceive may be a grand illusion. Does what we see and hear every day truly reflect the essence of the universe? In Hinduism, this idea is encapsulated in the concept of Maya, a kind of veil that distorts our view of the true nature of things. But what is this illusion, and how does it affect us in our daily lives? Human experience is deeply rooted in the senses. Our eyes, ears, and other physical senses capture what surrounds us. But do they show us everything? Modern science suggests otherwise. Quantum physics, for example, reveals that the material world is made up of particles that behave unpredictably until they are observed. How can something as fundamental as matter be so fluid and undefined? This leads us to question: could the world we call solid be, in fact, just a temporary projection? If we consider the views of Eastern philosophies, such as Buddhism, we understand that this attachment to matter and its illusion is the source of much of our suffering. Buddha taught us that the cycle of birth and death, called samsara, is perpetuated by the incessant pursuit of happiness in something that is constantly changing. But how can we free ourselves from this trap of illusions and dissatisfaction? Beyond Eastern philosophies, many other traditions discuss the illusory nature of reality. In Sufism, there is talk of hijab, veils that block our perception of the divine. These veils are not only physical, but also mental and emotional. What would happen if we could remove these blockages? Could we finally see beyond what our eyes can perceive? Plato, one of the greatest philosophers of ancient Greece, also addressed this issue in his allegory of the cave. In this metaphor, prisoners see only shadows projected on the cave wall and believe that this is the only reality. When one prisoner is freed and sees the outside world, he realizes how mistaken he was. And are we also trapped by shadows? What would we discover if we broke free from these invisible chains? Modern physics gives us even more reason to reflect on the illusion of reality. The famous double-slit experiment shows that particles can behave as waves or particles depending on whether they are being observed. Doesn't this force us to question the role of the observer? Could we, in some way, be co-creators of the reality that surrounds us? Mystics from various spiritual traditions have taught us for centuries that the path to transcending these illusions lies in inner silence. Meditation, contemplation, and prayer are practices that help us calm the mind and see beyond the surface. Have you ever experienced this silence? What might you discover if you manage to quiet the world's noise? When we reach this state of awakening, we begin to understand that reality is not something fixed. Physicist David Bohm proposed the existence of an implicate order, where all possibilities exist, waiting to manifest in the explicate order. Doesn't this perfectly align with the mystical teachings that the universe responds to our intentions? Awakening to the truth that reality is an illusion can be liberating. It allows us to detach from the relentless pursuit of material goods and focus on something deeper. What impact would this have on our lives? Could we finally find the peace we so desperately seek? The illusion of reality is, ultimately, an invitation. It challenges us to question everything we believe and to seek what is eternal and unchanging. When we understand that appearances deceive, we come closer to the truth. Are we ready for this journey of discovery? Throughout human history, spiritual knowledge has been carefully preserved by secret societies and mystical orders. But why keep this knowledge hidden? Is it so powerful that, in the wrong hands, it could cause harm? Organizations like the Rosicrucians, the Templars, and the Freemasons believed that esoteric knowledge was a path of personal transformation, reserved only for those who were ready. And would you be prepared to walk this path? In ancient Egypt, for example, the teachings of the mystery schools were restricted to a few initiates. Egyptian hierophants believed that the mysteries of life and death could not be revealed to everyone. Why? Because understanding these truths required spiritual maturity and responsibility. It is believed that many sacred texts, such as the Book of the Dead, contained guidance that went far beyond mere survival, indicating how to navigate the world after death. Jewish Kabbalah also offers vast spiritual knowledge, but for many centuries, it was kept away from the masses. The Tree of Life, for example, is one of its most powerful symbols, representing the divine spheres that make up creation. However, understanding this complex system requires not only study, but also deep introspection. Have you ever stopped to reflect on what lies beyond the physical world? Hermes Trismegistus, in Hermeticism, also made it clear that esoteric knowledge should only be passed on to those who demonstrated spiritual maturity. The famous maxim, "as above, so below," reflects the idea that the human microcosm mirrors the macrocosm of the universe. Could this correspondence help us understand our own spiritual journey? Over the centuries, esoteric symbols like the pentagram, the Ankh, and the Star of David have carried profound meanings. But what do these symbols really represent? To the uninitiated, they may seem like mere drawings, but to the initiate, they are keys that unlock universal secrets. And if you could access these secrets, how would that transform your perception of the world? Initiation rituals, present in many of these societies, were seen as spiritual rebirths. The initiate went through a series of symbolic trials that tested their ability to transcend the material world. What might these ancient rites teach us about our own spiritual evolution? During the Renaissance, philosophers like Giordano Bruno rediscovered these esoteric texts and began exploring ideas such as the infinity of the universe and the divine presence in all things. But their views often challenged the religious authorities of the time. What does this tell us about the fear that esoteric knowledge instills in structures of power? With the advent of modern science, many of these esoteric concepts began to be reevaluated under a new light. Could quantum physics, with its discoveries about the interconnectedness of all things, be leading us back to ancient mystical truths? However, even with the advancement of science, true spiritual wisdom remains an internal process. It takes more than mere intellectual curiosity to access these mysteries. And you, would you be willing to undergo this inner transformation, to understand what many spend their entire lives trying to grasp? Esoteric knowledge, long shrouded in mystery, is now more accessible than ever. But, as in ancient times, it requires dedication and maturity to be fully understood. What would you do with this knowledge in your hands? Overcoming the illusion of reality is no simple task. It requires a deep and often painful journey of self-discovery. But what does it take to truly awaken to a higher consciousness? The first step is recognizing that the reality we experience with our senses is limited. However, it's not enough to know this intellectually. How can we experience this truth more deeply and personally? Spiritual practices like meditation and contemplation offer powerful paths to silence the distractions of the outer world. By connecting with our inner selves, we begin to realize there is something far beyond what the eyes can see. Have you ever experienced inner silence? What would it be like if we could disconnect from daily worries and listen to our own essence? As we advance on this journey, we begin to develop expanded awareness, a clearer vision of reality that goes beyond appearances. This awareness cannot be taught or conveyed through words. It must be directly experienced. And in this process, we are forced to confront something many of us avoid: our own shadow. The shadow, as described in Jungian psychology, represents the aspects of ourselves that we repress or ignore. Confronting this dark part of our being is essential for spiritual growth. But how do we deal with these deeply rooted fears and traumas? It is by facing them that we free ourselves from the chains that keep us trapped in illusion. But are we ready for this? Overcoming these internal barriers is often described as a symbolic death. A part of us must die for something new to emerge. This process is painful, but necessary for the awakening of a new consciousness. What are we willing to sacrifice to reach a higher truth? Another important step on this path is detachment. We cling to ideas, objects, and even people that reinforce the illusion of permanence. But everything is in constant change. In Buddhism, detachment is seen as one of the greatest spiritual challenges, but also as the key to true liberation. Have you ever wondered what would happen if we let go of the things that bind us? As we detach, we begin to experience an inner peace that transcends external circumstances. This peace does not depend on anything outside of us, but comes from understanding that we are part of something greater. What would this mean for our daily lives? How would it feel to live without fear of the unknown? Awakening consciousness is not an isolated event, but a continuous process of growth. Each stage brings us to a deeper understanding, and new challenges arise to push us even further. Are we ready to accept that life is a constant flow of learning and transformation? When we finally realize that the outer world reflects our inner state, we understand that we have the power to shape our own reality. Reflects the microcosm. How might this vision change the way we view our lives and our relationships with others? The process of awakening reminds us that true change begins within. It is not about controlling the outer world, but about transforming our inner world so that we can then transform everything around us. Are we willing to embrace this journey of self-discovery? Since time immemorial, symbols have been used to convey hidden knowledge and spiritual truths. But why do so many spiritual traditions rely so heavily on these symbols? Are words alone not enough to express what truly matters? The truth is that symbols speak directly to our subconscious, opening doors that the intellect often cannot cross. In esotericism, symbols like the pentagram, the Egyptian Ankh, or the Eye of Horus carry profound meanings that go beyond literal understanding. Each of these symbols functions as a key, unlocking different levels of insight. But is it possible to access these secrets without an inner journey? It takes more than just studying the symbol. It requires contemplation and experience. The pentagram, for instance, is a powerful symbol representing the balance of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and spirit. At first glance, it appears to be a simple geometric drawing. But at its core, it holds deep teachings about both inner and outer balance. When we use these symbols in meditative practices, we can access hidden dimensions of our own consciousness. Have you ever tried connecting with a symbol in this way? Another widely used symbol is the Tree of Life from Kabbalah. Each of its 10 sephirot represents an aspect of creation and consciousness, offering a symbolic map for the practitioner seeking to understand the universe and their own spiritual journey. But is the Tree of Life merely a diagram or an invitation to something deeper? As we reflect on its meanings, we begin to realize that spiritual wisdom requires a level of introspection and practice that goes beyond intellectual knowledge. Esoteric symbols also frequently appear in rituals and meditative practices. In occult traditions, they are used to invoke energies or create sacred spaces. For example, when the pentagram is traced during a ritual, it is not merely a drawing in the air. It serves as a protective barrier, an invitation to spiritual forces, and an affirmation of universal balance. Have you ever considered how these rituals might affect our reality? Throughout history, these symbols have been inscribed on temples, sacred texts, and works of art. But were these artifacts created solely to be admired? Or are they active tools for spiritual transformation? Many believe that Gothic cathedrals, for example, were built following esoteric geometric principles, designed to channel energies from the earth and the cosmos. Could we unknowingly be entering temples of power when we step into these sacred places? The power of esoteric symbols is also evident in their ability to adapt to different traditions and cultures. While the meaning of a symbol may vary, its essence remains the same, to convey a universal spiritual truth. Doesn't this reveal something about the intrinsic nature of human spirituality? Are we all connected by these universal archetypes? In meditative practice, symbols are often used as focal points of concentration. What happens when we focus our attention on a symbol during meditation? Mystics believe that by connecting with these symbols, we are accessing deeper levels of consciousness and attuning ourselves to universal forces. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to use a symbol as a tool for self-discovery? Additionally, the ritual use of symbols often involves the combination of other elements, such as incense, sounds, and specific movements. Every detail is designed to amplify the spiritual energy of the practitioner. This makes us wonder, what if these practices are not just ancient traditions, but true spiritual sciences? Symbols are also used as tools for visualization. During meditation, by imagining a sacred symbol, the practitioner begins to access the qualities it represents. For example, visualizing the Ankh can connect us with the continuous flow of life and death. What could be revealed to you if you started exploring these symbols in your spiritual practice? By understanding esoteric symbolism, we realize that it offers a direct path to spiritual truths that often remain hidden. However, the true power of symbols is only revealed to those who are willing to delve into their essence. Are we ready to accept this invitation and embark on this journey of self-transformation? Since the dawn of humanity, dreams have always been seen as a window to other realities. But are they merely projections of our minds, or can they truly connect us with spiritual dimensions? Different cultures believe that dreams are powerful tools for revelation, healing, and self-knowledge. Have you ever considered the possibility that dreams might be more than just subconscious creations? In shamanism, for example, dreams are used as a means of communication with spirits. During the dream state, the shaman contacts spiritual beings and receives guidance on how to heal their people. This raises the question, are we ignoring a huge spiritual potential by dismissing our own dreams? Lucid dreams are a fascinating example of how we can consciously explore this altered state of consciousness. A lucid dream is one where the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming and can influence the events. But what if we use this ability to explore our inner selves and seek answers to our spiritual questions? Tibetan monks practice what they call dream yoga, where they train to maintain awareness during the dream state. They believe that this practice allows them to access a more subtle reality and eventually reach enlightenment. What if we, too, could learn to control our dreams to deepen our spiritual growth? In addition to lucid dreams, astral projection is another phenomenon that has fascinated spiritual seekers for centuries. Astral projection occurs when consciousness separates from the physical body and travels to other realms or dimensions. But are these journeys real, or just creations of the mind? Many practitioners report profound transformative experiences during these travels, suggesting that there is more to explore. In various traditions, such as Sufism and Western esotericism, it is believed that astral journeys allow us to access ancient knowledge and encounter spiritual beings who can guide us. Doesn't this suggest that our existence extends beyond the physical world? Could these practices help us overcome our fears and better understand the cycle of life and death? The Akashic Records, described as a universal database where all memories and events are stored, are often accessed through lucid dreams or astral travel. Imagine being able to explore past lives or potential futures through these experiences. What would these journeys reveal about ourselves and our spiritual purpose? Astral travel also connects us to a reality where the laws of time and space function differently. Many people report encountering spiritual guides, ascended masters, or even ancestors during these experiences. This makes us reflect. Are these parallel realities as distant as we think? Modern science is also beginning to explore altered states of consciousness, such as lucid dreaming and astral projection. Although still an emerging field of study, research suggests that the brain operates differently during these states, indicating that there is much more to discover about the human mind. Are we just scratching the surface of consciousness potential? Ultimately, both dreams and astral travel teach us something profound about the nature of death. Many traditions believe that death is merely a transition to another dimension. By familiarizing ourselves with these practices, perhaps we can lose the fear of the unknown and understand that life continues in ways we are only beginning to discover. Why do certain places seem to radiate a different kind of energy? Could there be invisible energy currents running through the planet, subtly but powerfully influencing our lives? Ley lines, the supposed energy networks connecting sacred sites, are an ancient belief that transcends cultures and time. Are these lines real, or are they merely a myth that has persisted through the centuries? In various cultures, from the ancient Druids of Europe to Chinese geomancers, sacred structures were carefully placed to align with these energy currents. But what would happen if we rediscovered these principles today? Places like Stonehenge in the UK and the pyramids of Egypt are often cited as examples of monuments built at intersections of ley lines. What did these ancient civilizations understand about Earth's energy that we, in modern times, have forgotten? The pyramids, in particular, are an enigma. The Great Pyramid of Giza is located in a precise position relative to the Earth's axis, and many believe this is no coincidence. Were these structures built to channel cosmic energy, or do they serve an even deeper spiritual purpose? China also has its own version of ley lines, known as dragon veins in feng shui. Feng shui masters believe these energy currents flow through the earth much like qi, vital energy flows through the human body. Could the harmony between humans and the environment be the key to achieving deeper spiritual balance? Gothic cathedrals, built during the Middle Ages, are another example of structures aligned with these principles. Many were constructed on ancient pagan worship sites, where the earth's energy was especially strong. These cathedrals were more than just places of worship. They were, in essence, energetic monuments designed to amplify the connection between human and divine. Could the very design of these cathedrals have been an attempt to channel the invisible forces of the universe? Modern practitioners of geomancy and dowsing believe that ley lines can still be detected and used for our benefit. Using tools like dowsing rods, many claim they can locate these lines and identify concentrated energy points. But what do these practices say about our connection to the planet? Do these energies influence our well-being and emotional states? Many believe that ley lines are also responsible for supernatural phenomena. In places where these lines intersect, it's common to hear reports of UFO sightings, apparitions, and miraculous healings. Doesn't this suggest that Earth's energy might indeed be a bridge between different realities? Beyond their use in spiritual practices, ley lines might represent something even greater: the interconnectedness of all things. The Earth, with its energy currents, is not just a mass of land and water, but a living organism. Could a better understanding of these energies help us reconnect with the planet in a deeper and more meaningful way? Science is just beginning to explore the potential of these energies. But what would happen if we rediscovered ways to harmonize our buildings and daily practices with these currents? Could we live more balanced lives, connected to both the cosmos and the Earth? Ultimately, ley lines remind us that the universe is interconnected, and the energies that flow through the Earth also flow through our bodies and our lives. To understand these lines is, in a sense, to understand ourselves. Are you ready to explore this interconnection and discover what it can reveal about your own spiritual journey? When we think of personal transformation, we often picture superficial changes: a new job, a new city, perhaps even new relationships. But true transformation goes far beyond external circumstances. It begins within us, at the deepest level of our soul. But what does it take to embark on this journey of inner change? In esoteric and spiritual traditions, self-knowledge is the first step toward any meaningful transformation. Knowing oneself is like opening the door to a new reality. But why is it so difficult for most of us to look inward and confront our own shadows? Perhaps because, in doing so, we are faced with truths we would rather ignore. Modern psychology teaches us that personal growth often begins with confronting our traumas and fears. However, in spirituality, this process goes even deeper. Spiritual transformation is about transcending the ego, that part of us that clings to the material, to power, and to external validation. But what would our lives be like if we could let go of all these attachments? This process of releasing the ego is often described as a symbolic death. The self, we know, must die so that a more authentic version of us can be reborn. What are we willing to sacrifice to become a new version of ourselves? Are we ready to leave behind the limiting beliefs we hold about who we are? Ancient initiation rituals were designed precisely to facilitate this transformation. Initiates were subjected to both physical and spiritual trials that forced them to confront their deepest fears. When they passed through these rites, they emerged as new people, with a deeper understanding of themselves and the universe. And are we prepared to go through our own initiation? On the path of personal transformation, meditation and introspection play crucial roles. By quieting the mind, we allow inner wisdom to emerge. However, this silence often exposes aspects of ourselves that we would rather avoid. But what if we embrace these hidden parts instead of trying to push them away? In addition to meditation, spiritual traditions also teach us about the power of intention. Our thoughts and emotions shape our reality. But are we aware of what we are creating with our daily intentions? Personal transformation begins with clarity about what we want to manifest in our lives. Another vital aspect of the transformation journey is service to others. When we dedicate ourselves to helping others, we begin to transcend the ego and connect with something greater than ourselves. What if the true purpose of life was to serve and love? How would that change the way we behave and relate to the world around us? Throughout this journey of transformation, we will face challenges, but each obstacle is an opportunity for growth. When we overcome these challenges, we emerge stronger, wiser, and more connected to our essence. But are we willing to face these trials, knowing that the path of transformation is arduous but rewarding? Ultimately, personal transformation is not just about changing who we are, but about remembering who we have always been. It invites us to return to our true essence, the part of us that is eternal and connected to the divine. Are you ready for this profound and revealing transformation? You are already closer to the truth than you realize. The search for spiritual knowledge is a journey without end, as there is always more to learn, more to experience, more to transcend. As you continue this exploration, remember, reality is not what you see, but what you feel in your soul. If you're interested in exploring more about spirituality, I've specially selected a few videos full of profound insights and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Just click on one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step toward transforming your reality.